This episode is brought to you by H1M. New horror. Subscribe now. Don't listen alone. Welcome to Haunted Grove, the podcast that drags you into the darkest corners of the supernatural. Each episode delivers chilling short stories of vengeful spirits, haunted places, and things that should not exist. These are true encounters with the unknown, told to unsettle, disturb, and stay with you. Are you ready to face your fears? Then step into the grove and let the horror begin. One night last autumn, I found myself driving back to the town where I was born, a place called Gray Bend. In my youth, it had been small, quiet, the kind of town that doesn't change much. But over the last few decades, it had withered, not because of lost industry or creeping crime. People just left. And if you asked why, you'd hear talk of opportunity elsewhere, better schools, shorter commutes. But I always suspected the real reason was the spider, the thing no one wanted to name aloud. There was a man in Gray Bend once, a brilliant but bitter man named Dr. Leonard Frost. He taught entomology at the state college, but spent most of his life chasing a legend. In the late 1970s, he went deep into the jungles of Papua New Guinea, determined to find and document a rare megalomorph tarantula, a species barely whispered about in scientific circles. Against warnings about the local tribes and their wary customs, he pressed on, convinced he'd earned their trust. For years he returned, each expedition longer, more desperate. On his last trip, something changed. Maybe he misread their kindness. Maybe they simply tired of him. One evening, they gave him a drink, something ancient, meant not to kill, but to unmake. When he reappeared stateside 6 months later, he was gaunt, hollow-eyed, wandering a back road not far from my family's home. His mind was fractured beyond repair, and from that night on, Gray Bend was never quite the same. When I was old enough, I started visiting the town again. First out of curiosity, later from a pull I couldn't explain. Each visit, the place seemed smaller, quieter. People avoided looking toward certain alleys, certain lots where nothing would grow. They didn't talk about the spider, but I knew they thought of it. How could they not? Last month, something drew me back one more time. A man at a bar in another town spoke of Gray Bend in a hushed voice. "It's still there," he said. I needed to see it for myself. I arrived after midnight. Gray Bend was as empty as I'd ever seen it. I walked the familiar streets, pausing at the shuttered library, the abandoned gas station. My old house sat dark, a for sale sign hanging crooked on the lawn. I made my way to the schoolyard, past the cracked sidewalk and overgrown fences, until I reached the old slide by the kickball field. I climbed it, just as I had as a boy, and sat at the top, looking out over the silent town. Then, a sound. A soft thump from below. I looked down the slide. The spider clung there, half hidden in shadow, thin and long-limbed, its hair wild, its clothes black and tattered. Dr. Frost, or what he had become. He moved with aching slowness, pressing himself onto the metal surface, face turned toward the cold steel. His hand crept forward, fingers splaying on the slide, as if testing its feel, or remembering. I didn't wait to see more. I scrambled down, heart pounding, and ran through the empty streets to my car. The spider had never hurt anyone. Not really, but its presence was enough. Enough to make people leave. Enough to haunt the corners of memory. If you go to Gray Bend, they'll tell you nothing's wrong. But stay past dark, and you'll feel it. In the spaces between buildings, in the hush that falls over the streets. The spider is still there, and Gray Bend will always be its home. And that's where we leave you for this journey into the unknown on Haunted Grove. Thank you for daring to listen to tonight's chilling tales. If these stories have lingered with you, please consider following us on Spotify or wherever you listen to podcasts, and leave a rating or review. It truly helps more sleepless souls find their way to the Grove. Join us again in 2 weeks for another descent into the darkness. Until then, keep the lights on and stay safe.